Uh-huh. Feel the funk out on the floor. Pull my body, come on, let's go. Feel the funk out on the floor. Pull my body, come on, let's go. It's BaBy's. It's BaBy's. CriB.
Baby! Paul's here!
And that's to shut the door with the cat. He won't get this one. Huh? Paul? Paul Jenkins! Comic book writer, producer, director, video game creator, and my friend!
What's up, beautiful people? We are here today at BaBy's CriB, and I'm with the infamous Paul Jenkins.
Oh, baby.
His list of credentials, it's just so long, your credits of everything you've done, like producer, writer, director, oh my gosh, comic, like animation you've done. It just goes on and on and on, like with everything. I could keep going and going. How are you feeling today?
Oh, feeling fantastic. You know, surrounded by stuff.
You're surrounded by magic. I feel like we're in fairyland right now. It's really fucking cool. It is. Oh my God. He brought all this really cool stuff that I can't wait to show you guys. Oh, it's gonna be super duper neat. But well, really quick, what is this behind us? What are we looking at?
Well, this is from a book called Fairy Quest. In fact, we got a few of them up here on the table. So Fairy Quest, I really love all ages books. So this one is about Red Riding Hood, and she becomes best friends with a wolf. So she kind of changes the rules of her story, and they get in trouble for it. But it's really kids' books are really like dark. Quite often, like Rapunzel being trapped in a castle or whatever. Right. So, in the story, basically, they're meant to tell their story, otherwise they get their minds wiped. So that's kind of the dark part.
So they have to keep telling the story.
That's right, yeah. And so Red and Wolf become best friends, and they try to escape. So they escape through this world called Fablewood, and they start to become self-aware.
Nice, yeah. Totally different flip on Little Red Riding Hood. They're buddies. I love it. It's so cool. Well, I guess we can talk about all these figurines in a second, but I know this is something that people always ask you, how you got your start. You're obviously from Jamaica with this accent. You're from England, we know this, but yeah, did you read comic books as a child? Like, how did you get into this?
I didn't really read them. I don't know that much about them, and I was lucky enough to get the job when I came to the States. I was teaching music and drama to learning disabled kids. And I ran into a couple of guys that had a black and white comic book, and they had just sold the rights to do a toy and a TV show, and it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Right, so I was the third employee there, and
as editor?
Yeah, I was an editor, and I was doing the production, but very quickly I ended up doing licensing. So it was like helping sell the project and working with CBS. So we ended up making a couple of films, which is pretty cool. So,
I remember these. Yeah. I remember them.
Do you remember that? Do you remember Vanilla?
Ninja Turtles.
Remember Vanilla Ice?
No, was he in this?
Yeah, he was in the second one.
I can remember that. Did he have a song? He had to have a song.
Yeah. Go
How'd
Ninja,
it go?
Go Ninja, go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Everybody sang this. That's right. It was an anthem. That's really cool.
So I did not have any of that stuff. I grew up in a family that was, my dad left when I was like 5 years old, so I grew up in the British countryside with a single mum who certainly is a different, quirky kind of person, and an older brother. And we moved every other week. We were on the road, and we often didn't have electricity. We struggled for
Very
money.
poor.
So I put that a lot of my life I put into my work. Like that was in the origin of Wolverine. So yeah.
So yeah, you take some of the stories from your real life and you put these into your stories. Yeah, the way you write.
I think everybody does really.
Yeah.
If they're,
Now, didn't you come here when you left home when you're like 11 or 5? Did I get that right? Like you're really little. Fuck it, I'm out of here. I'm going. Right?
Yeah,
You're
I was really young. I was really young. I was getting in trouble a lot. I think my mum was getting in trouble a lot.
I can relate.
I got in trouble with the police a few times, and I was a really intelligent little kid, but I didn't have any direction. And one of my teachers, I think, had seen that I had all this potential. Like I could do all of the English, math, all of it like that.
You've always been fast.
Yeah, I knew all of that stuff, and I think they wanted to give me a chance. And so I believe that they came to my mum and said that there was a school that was founded by Edward VI in 1553. This
Really?
thing, yeah, it's a really old thing. He was Henry VIII's son.
Trippy.
And apparently the story goes that Edward VI had a body double, and he was really grateful to that body double. And the body double would eat food for him and would potentially take a knife for him.
Almost die for him every time. Yeah.
And so in order to repay the boy and other boys like him, he created a royal charter for a school. And so by the time that I tried to go to the school, there were only 4 scholarships. In fact, most of them were full fee paying, like rich kids.
Sure.
But there were 4 in the country, and I managed to win one and go to the school. So
that's amazing, Paul. That's really, really cool.
So I left home when I was 11 years old,
Yeah.
and I really didn't really go back.
That's amazing. And your brother stayed back with your mom?
Yeah, my brother still lives in a caravan. He
Does
still
he?
lives. He has no electricity. He lives on the land.
Okay.
But what's kind of cool, and I've written about it a lot, is that he's really a child of the country. Like we both are children of the countryside. So I grew up, we would walk to school and we would see the foxes and the stoats and the weasels and all that kind of stuff. So when you live in magic, it sort of becomes part of, it becomes what you do.
Yeah, so you get to really see it and be a part of it. That's really cool. So, okay, so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you got that job, whatever. How did you swerve into starting to write for comics?
Well, I was an editor in chief of a company called Tundra, and so after we did Ninja Turtles, one of the 2 creators, Kevin Eastman, is still one of my best friends.
Nice.
Kevin,
that's always good when you can keep a friend.
Yeah,
in this industry.
We've known each other for a long time, right?
Nice.
And he went off to do a publishing company, and he asked me if I would like to come, right? So I happened to be an editor to a lot of different people that are pretty well known right now. Alan Moore. Created V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
He also created Watchmen. He created From Hell. So I was the original series editor on From Hell. I was editor on Big Numbers that he did.
And how old were you about this time?
22.
Yeah, just barely drinking.
Really
but over in England, they were drinking when you were 11.
Yeah, I was drinking when I was 11.
You got it.
Probably younger, actually, to be quite honest.
That's so cool. So 22, yeah.
Yeah, I think 22, 23. And then I was Neil Gaiman's editor. I had a lot of really well-known comic book artists and so on. And I was over at Alan's house. I was talking with him about Big Numbers, and I said to him, man, Alan, I feel like I could do this. I feel like I think some of the way that you're talking,
Right.
And he went, well, you should give it a go then. So I went to San Diego Comic Convention. This is how not to break into comics.
How not to do it?
Yeah, I went to San Diego Comic and I met
It's your success story, though. So.
Yeah. Well, this is how not to do it, which means anyone can do it, right?
Ah, yes.
And
exactly.
So I went to San Diego Comic Con, and I met the editor of Hellblazer, which is probably one of the most prestigious comics that there are. Every pro wants to write Hellblazer. John Constantine, the character that you've seen on TV and film, and I went to the editor, Lou Stathis, and I said, hey man, I understand you're looking for a new writer. And he said, yeah, what have you written? I said, well, I've never written anything. But he let me, for some reason, he and the editor-in-chief, Karen Berger, they let me try out for it, and there were 25 odd people trying, all of whom were established pros, and then they called me up 6 weeks later and said, well,
fucking awesome.
You're the new writer of Hellblazer.
And that story, what was it that you dazzled them with, would you say? How was it maybe different from?
Well, I'm from I wanted to write about the magic of the English countryside, so a lot of what I wrote about was I kid you not, there was a character called Rich the Punk, and it's my older brother, and it's his girlfriend Michelle, now his wife, their children, and all I would do was call my brother up. So my brother's a mental case, right? He's absolutely bonkers.
Okay.
And I can remember
I'm trying to imagine.
he's crazy. He's a great, really, really intelligent guy that never found a direction like I was given because he didn't go to a school like I did, right? And so he's partly deaf in one ear and completely deaf in the other. Completely misunderstood guy, very clever, and never got a chance. But
people mistake being deaf for being
That's right,
stupid,
for being
but
stupid.
it's not.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would call him up and I'd say, Rich, one time he called me up and said, "You never guess where I am," and I said, "I know exactly where you are. You're on top of Stonehenge." And he was really annoyed because it was summer solstice.
Like a
I
like
knew
that
it,
kind of thing.
That kind of thing, right?
Wow, you're connected.
And he said, "Hold on a minute." He's on one of the first cell phones, and then he's like, you hear a noise in the background. He's having a fight with a policeman, trying to kick the policeman off at Stonehenge. So that's pretty much my fan. Like,
that's awesome.
We are the kings and queens of real England and real Wales and all of that. Like all of those are our heritage, whereas the kings and queens that you find now are all Greek and they're from other places. You
That's
know?
really cool.
Yeah.
So you so you write about your family. That's like so you get some of these ideas from real life. Yeah, your real stories.
Yeah.
Do you write about your wife?
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
I put her in Spider-Man. I wrote a lot about that.
Was she Mary Jane or like?
She was Mary Jane for a
Yeah?
time. Yeah, I
Okay.
would write all these stories because she's pretty wacky.
I know,
So
met her. She's great.
I would write her. I'd put her in there. She would be like. She'd be like the things that she did when I first met her were just anecdotally. I just put them into Spider-Man.
Give me one example. Like one thing.
I remember she's pretty whack, and I remember.
Melinda, you're whack. In case you haven't heard it. I know you.
She, when they first came out with the grocery store, you would start like checking yourself out. You remember when it first started happening?
Yeah. The conveyor belt.
They didn't have it transferred over, so it was on a conveyor belt. So she did an I Love Lucy. She said, "Oh look, there's one of those," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, let's check out ourselves." She's like, "Step back, Junior, I got this." So I stepped back, and then she started doing it, but the conveyor belt kept going, and it threw everything off the edge, and she's desperately trying to put it back on, and she's yelling, "Help me, help me."
That is
like,
I Love Lucy.
You got it.
Go ahead, honey. You said you could do this.
Right, so I put that in Spider-Man. I also put in the fact we went to a Klingon wedding convention one time.
Oh my gosh, I bet that was fun.
It's fantastic.
I bet it was fun.
Did you know that comic books originated in 1933? They did. But American comic books became popular in 1938 when Superman made his debut. Superman's a part of the DC Comics, created by Jerry Siegel, and he's from the planet Krypton, and apparently allergic to a stone called kryptonite. But that really makes no sense to me because why would you be allergic to a stone from where you're from? Unless one night at a party, Superman snorted a little too much kryptonite, overdosed, ended up in the hospital, and now he has an allergy to it. Well, Superman's an idiot. Nothing.
Hi, I'm Paul Jenkins. I just want to remind you that nobody, and I mean nobody, puts baby in the corner.
Hey, little boys and little girls, and big boys and big girls. You want a bedtime story? Then follow me, like me, and leave me a comment. And I promise to read you the best story you've ever heard.
So how many books have you written for Spider-Man? I mean, you've done so much. We could go down the list, the whole Wolverine, Spider-Man, blah, blah, all these that you've done. Was it 6 copies or more than that?
No,
Or 6 years?
I did about 5 or 6 years of Spider-Man.
5 or 6
Yeah,
years.
so that's 12 issues a year, sometimes 18.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that is a lot.
But I did.
You can tell I read comic books all the time, can't you?
Yeah. I did, for a while I was doing Spider-Man, Hulk, Wolverine, a couple of books of my own, so I was probably doing 5 or 6 books
Simultaneously?
a month.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I was just creatively flying. And it's really good for you, it helps you create.
Well, your mind, I mean, it's like this. You're always going. Every thought, you can go in a million different directions. You're just a creative. I love that. So when you write, do you have one area that you write, or are you just constantly writing whenever the ideas come to you?
Well, I think that, I'm big on I've learned my own college lecture over the years, right? I've taught in college a few times, and
nice.
One of the things that I always say to people is that writers don't write, writers finish. right? You don't need to be in the process of writing. You never finish anything.
Okay.
You can't just create something and keep creating. You're just practicing at that point.
Yeah.
What you need to do is finish stuff.
Sure.
And so when I was doing a lot of comic books, I didn't have any choice. I had to finish one. So it was a crazy month. You'd write this book, this book, this book, this book, this book. You know, the first one might be, say, The Incredible Hulk.
Right.
And then a month would go by and they go, okay, you need the next chapter of the Hulk. You're like, I got to. So I'm not a big person on talent because I think that talent is really just potential.
Sure.
But I think you have to add a work ethic to it.
Yes.
And I think you have to add some
Which you obviously have.
social maturity, right?
Yeah, you obviously have.
And if you can do that, then you've got talent. And if I had a talent, an innate talent, it would be that I can think of something like that.
And you do.
Yeah.
I've seen you do this before with people when we're out. You're
I can
like,
make
just
it up on the
give
fly.
Give me a fucking idea. Somebody throw something at Paul right now.
Yeah,
Let's see what
you can do it. Yeah, you know, and I used to teach this. You know,
Yeah.
it can be done. Yeah.
So you should come up with your own name for this method of how you teach.
Yeah, it is actually.
We'll
I do
call it
have. It's called
Jenkins.
creative adaptability, and it's
Creative
something that I taught
adaptability.
at Kennesaw State University for a while. The idea that if you give me all the parameters of things I can't do,
Right.
great, then I can do all the rest. And
Yeah,
so
because you
now I
know
can
where
make some-
to not go.
Yeah.
How often do you write? Well, you just said you finish it, but how often do you like write something and then you give it to the comic companies and they go, no, that's not going to work. We don't want it to go in that direction.
Never.
Never.
I don't think so. No.
That's awesome, dude. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they love everything you do.
I mean, I think maybe that can happen with pitches, right? If you're
Sure.
pitching what you want to do or take on a character, they might not really go for it. But you know, in terms of like writing something and finishing it and then handing it in, one of the things that really amazed me when I was doing Spider-Man, I asked my editor at one point if I do I was actually doing 18 issues a year of Spectacular, and
That's a lot.
and I asked them, when you think about the editorial costs and the printing and all that, how much do we spend on me a month?
Right.
To print it, to translate it in different countries, to ship it worldwide,
Think
all that kind of
about
stuff.
that.
It was millions of dollars a month,
Yeah.
and I would do 5 books a month.
Wow.
So, you know, when you look at like, you know, you want to make an independent film, you might make it for a couple of $1 million, right? That's really very small compared to
Sure,
the
what they're putting
endeavors
out.
of a big company like Marvel, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that, like other countries, how they're putting this out and all this stuff. Where do you get the time for your family if you're writing like this all the time?
You know, you have to make time, right?
Yeah.
So like my little guy
Yeah.
is a little nut. He's a little goblin.
How old
He's
is he now?
He's 12. He just turned 12.
Okay, 12.
Right, so he
Yeah.
just turned 12 and he's playing football, so he's doing all right.
Cool.
You know, and then the older one's really into Dungeons and Dragons, which cracks me up.
Nice, nice.
So I was always a sports guy, and he couldn't care any less about
Don't give a
sports. It
shit.
cracks me up.
Yeah.
But he likes Dungeons and Dragons and he likes to be imaginative, and he's a fantastic writer.
Nice.
And-
So he
and-
gets that from you?
Well, you know, he gets it from him, actually, I think.
Okay. But I mean, having all this around you and this creative mind of being surrounded by these things, you think that, you know, would influence somewhat.
It does, right? So creativity is very normal in
Yeah.
our household, and
Yeah.
my oldest boy is a great writer, and I think if you're an artist and you see an artist, you can tell if they're any good or not, right?
Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah.
If you are a writer, you can tell if someone can write. My son can write.
Your son
He's
can
a
write.
good writer. First time he read me a short story, I was like, man, you got it.
That's
you know?
awesome.
And the little one is so brilliant at music. He's got it.
But you're a musician as well.
Yeah.
You know, I remember guitars. Didn't you start out like doing music too? You were an actor, but
Yeah.
then like also music?
Yeah.
Punk rock bands?
Yeah, I came here teaching music and drama to kids, and
Yeah.
I was touring with my band. Actually, the way I met the Ninja Turtle guys was they did an album cover for us, and I broke my leg playing football, which is pretty typical of me.
Aww.
And I couldn't go on tour, and so I asked them if I could work with them because they were busy.
That's how it
And they said-
happened.
and that's how it happened. Yeah.
So the universe, although it injured you, it like works its way out in other ways. That's cool. There's a story that you wrote, I think, about when you were injured and you hurt your neck and you incorporated that into, was it Wolverine?
No, it was in
Or
Spider-Man, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so you were actually writing from that point of view where like you thought you were gonna die, right?
Yeah.
Like you were like, you couldn't move.
Yeah, I fractured my neck playing soccer, and I was in midair heading the ball, and someone came up behind me and broke
Yeah.
my leg and broke my neck, and I started getting really bad vertigo, which I still deal with now.
Really?
Yeah. So as I actually spent 6 or 7 weeks in a bathtub. I just laying there. I went down to like 125 pounds, something like that. I was
Why a bathtub?
really sick.
Because
it was cold.
Oh.
Because it was cold and the porcelain made me feel. All I felt was nausea.
Hot. Yeah.
So I lay in this bathtub for ages. And,
That's so sad.
It was the darkest moment of my entire life. And you know, I was by myself and having a deal. And then one of the other things that until recently I didn't know, I had these poisonous welts that showed up on my arms and my legs.
During that time?
Yeah, and I didn't know what it was. And I kept saying to people,
Spider-Man, you got bit.
no, I didn't get spider powers. Yeah. But what I did get was a staph infection. I
Oh,
didn't know.
fuck.
So I was dealing with a staph infection from the injury on my ankle and I didn't know it.
And no one was taking care of you?
No, I was just by myself. Yeah.
That does sound like hell.
should've
It's amazing
died.
that you made it through there.
Yeah.
And so that's how you got the story of Spider-Man and like all that. That's, oh my
Take
God.
what you know and write that.
Yeah, that's crazy and sad, and I'm glad you're here.
That's not
still.
that sad,
I mean, you're here, so like you're still writing and creating all this stuff is really cool. So, well, let's talk a little bit about some of these figurines we have around us right now. All you beautiful people can see them out there.
Okay. So this is Fairy Quest. This is Red Riding Hood and the Wolf.
Yes.
And this is a character that I created for probably 4 or 5 years. I pitched this to Marvel. This is a character called the Sentry.
The Sentry.
And he's really known as being this old, like, golden age 50s character. He's the golden guardian of good, and he was one of the first superheroes. But he has this terrible villain he fights, this creature of eternal night called the Void. And what this is about, it's about mental health issues. So you find out that in his alter ego, he's schizophrenic. He suffers from schizophrenia. So he is his own worst enemy. And
He's pretty badass.
Yeah, he's
a lot
pretty
of
cool.
muscles. Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
he's
Kind of looks
pretty
like
cool.
somebody sitting next to me in a way. Who comes up with these, like as far as like the design and stuff like this?
Well, I actually worked on this with a guy
Again,
called Jay Lee.
lean in it.
Yeah, so I did a little of the design work.
That's really cool, man. He's
yeah.
got blue eyes, blonde hair, if you
Yep.
guys can see out there. Yeah, it's cool.
So let's see, we've got Kazar, which is a series that I wrote for Marvel. And Kazar is very much about like the land and the world and the earth and stuff like that, you know, like what we're doing to the planet, that kind of thing.
So he's here to like save the world, like,
well,
protect
he
it
lives in a
way?
place called, he lives in a place that's sort of like an adjacent Earth, and so he sees what we're doing to our planet
Okay.
and wants to keep that, the savage land, he wants to keep it as it is so that no one
Untouched.
will mess it up.
Yeah.
This is the moment that Wolverine pops his claws. So
I don't know if we can appreciate this. We'll have to get closer later, but that is amazing. Wow. And the
So
pain.
I wrote the origin of Wolverine, and again, like a lot of the stuff that I write, it was kind of autobiographical. It was about growing up on a farm and sort of being at the bottom of the hill and seeing the farmer's house with all these lights on and having no electricity.
You're like, they're just living it up.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like-
Like we could play with the farmers' kids, but we couldn't go to their parties. You know?
That's so sad.
It's
crazy.
The gentry of England. It's the class system. You know?
Maybe it's this way here too in America a little bit. I don't know, but that's really sad.
I think so.
You
I
know,
think so.
in certain ways, yeah.
I mean, and this guy
looks scary
this
as
guy's
fuck.
mental. This guy
You don't want
is
to hang
like-
out with this dude. But...
Yeah, he's a darkling from a video game I wrote called The Darkness.
A darkling.
Yeah, he's a little darkling.
And he's got 4. Am I seeing this right? No, that's 5. Okay, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
These are wicked. These are so cool. It might sound kind of crazy, but if someone were to purchase these, how much would they buy these for?
I don't know.
$333 million.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on.
say that.
I know that this one is sort of limited edition one because
So cool.
they didn't make many of them with the
It's
blood
got the
on.
gargoyles
apparently.
around it and stuff. Oh, they didn't make it with the blood?
Yeah, they mainly made it without it, but this one's got all the blood
Yeah.
everywhere. So.
Well, I mean, the Comic Cons, I bet people just would go crazy over all this stuff, seeing it. And the fans, they love you. I've been to a couple of these with you, and they just, Paul Jenkins, ah. You're great with them, too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I learned very early about fandom,
Yeah.
and I learned how to. Very early on, right, when I was really young, I was with the Ninja Turtles, and we had such power. I had all these little kids, and they just lived and died. And a big thing for me was Make-A-Wish Foundation, because even though I was a young guy, the other guys were really busy, and I made a point, because I came from nothing,
Yeah.
you know, and I really made a point of trying to get us doing Make-A-Wish because it would change a little kid's life, and certainly when I did it, I have life experiences now with terminally ill children that have made such a difference to my life, you know. And then interacting with fans, you know, I've met a lot, and a lot of comic fans can be pretty awkward and have some issues, and you know.
But do you think because this is all they have sometimes, this imagination to like
I think they go and find it, right? I think they go and find comics. But you know, I wrote a project called Alters a few years ago.
Is it a transsexual?
Yeah, she's transgender.
Yeah. Transgender
Woman, and she is about to transition into from you know, her family sees her as the middle brother, and she's about to tell him, look, you know, this is not where I'm going, it's not who I am, and she's begun the hormone therapy, and at that moment she gets this like crazy superpower like some people are getting in the world, and she realizes it's complicated, so she can only be who she really is when she's in costume, which is not who she really is.
Wow, that's
and
deep.
What she does is she helps other people come to terms with the power, so she actually helps other people transition, but she can't do it herself. So it's pretty sad.
Again, sad again, but beautiful. I love it that you wrote about a transgender superhero. I love this. And there's also a quadriplegic in this, and Alters
That's right,
as well?
yeah. So her brother is quadriplegic, and that's why she feels she can't tell anybody about what's happening to her. But then
the
she finds
attention will
out.
be on them like this?
Yeah, and she finds out that her brother has a power too.
He's got a power as well.
Yeah, he can move things with his mind, and so, you know, as these alters genetically are sort of coming about, they're called alters. But the whole point of that series was to get people who have like a disadvantage, right, in society. So we had one woman, I think my favorite character was a woman who, she was homeless, you know, because I've been there.
Yeah.
And she could, you know, she could save the world, but she couldn't feed her own 2 kids. And so it was all about like this power discrepancy that we have in society, where people, is like she's invisible to everybody, but she could do all this good, you know.
It's crazy, and it is the truth though in so many ways with certain people. That like the fans love you so much, and you've been awarded like the Prism Award, and then I mean there's tons of things, and I know that you don't really receive those well. You're like award, schmord, whatever, and that goes back to the punk rock thing, right? But to be awarded these things is amazing, right?
Well, I feel I'm quirky, maybe, I don't know. I think that
an honor, but weird, maybe.
Yeah, it's an honor, but it's weird. I look at it like this, right? When you say there's a best writer,
yes,
how do you quantify that? You can't measure that. I mean, there's no best because it's subjective material.
Like music
and so I've never actually been to an awards ceremony.
Not one?
No, I didn't go to them.
Later, I will give you your award for during this interview, and you will get the right.
My mum was really upset because I was nominated twice for a BAFTA award, like the British Academy Awards.
And you didn't go?
No. And so she was really mad because she wanted me to take her.
Oh, she wanted to go.
Yeah.
Well, damn it.
I mean, in red carpet events as well, I'm not, I mean, I have the opportunity to go to them a lot, but I don't, I've done a couple, you know, and then so when we came out with the Ninja Turtles, this is a great anecdote. My little grandmother, little Nan.
Little Nan.
Everyone else with the Ninja Turtles had like very statuesque, beautiful girlfriends, and I was single at the time, so I took my Nan. Right?
Oh, sweet.
And so the limo shows up, and they pick her up in the neighborhood, and they bring her out, and all the neighbors are looking out the window like, what's going on with that, Miss Eldridge, and so they bring her to me. We watch the film. It's really loud and crazy. It was the first day.
Little
of the show.
Nan's like,
She didn't care. No, she was quite enjoying it. I asked
funny.
her if she liked it, and she liked it. And then the BBC right afterwards asked us if we wanted to go to the after party. And I asked, Nan, do you want to go? And she's like, that'd be nice. She had no idea.
It's so funny.
So we took her, and like, this was right before Freddie Mercury passed away, and
Queen.
I think it was one of the last things that he went to. He was not looking good. Brian May was there.
Wow.
Keelton John, all these people.
All these big wigs.
This is
really.
the BBC part, right? So Keelton John, of all people, kept thinking that my grandmother kept saying, she's fabulous, she's lovely. And Brian May came up to me at one point, he said, young man, I hear that you brought your grandmother. I was like, yeah. He said, you know what, I hate these things. I'm going to bring my mum next time. That's a great idea.
You started a trend.
Yeah, so little Nan spent the whole night just charming everybody. And I was
really
like,
cute.
I got that memory. That's a great red carpet. When we actually arrived at the red carpet, they stack you up and you get out of the limo.
Sure.
And we get out, and I bring my Nan out, and she starts waving at everybody. I'm like, Nan.
Hello, I'm the queen.
like the
Hello,
Queen
I'm here
Mother,
with my
That's
grandson. That's so awesome. It's a really great story. Do you remember what she wore? I know that's kind of funny, but like,
What she wore?
yeah.
I don't know. Probably her Sunday best, the best she could. Yeah.
A hat, I don't know. I'm just joking with you, really. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about Fairy Quest before we finish, but also the video game industry. Like you've written video games before, and isn't there one you're really proud of?
Yeah, I've written a lot. This one is from the darkness. I think the interesting thing about the darkness is it's a game that's really emulated. Like we were told mid-90s. The industry itself was run by a bunch of nerds that didn't think there was any storytelling potential, which, you know, tell me I can't do something and that's literally the reason why I'll do it. Yeah. And they said that there's no way to make stories out of video games. But there were certain people like myself and Amy Hennig, who ended up being the creative director of a company called Naughty Dog, and they made The Last of Us, they made Uncharted. All of these are basic stories. So Amy and I worked together on a project called Soul Reaver in the mid to late 90s, which was about like Gnosticism and stuff that, you know, wasn't being made. You know, and I've done like Prototype and Darkness. You know, that I've done well with games, and a lot of the stuff I've done has been emulated because we were creating how to tell a story in games. So when you look at the genetics of games, BioShock especially, Assassin's Creed, I think they owe a lot to what I was doing.
I'm sure.
You know, trying to like break ground
I'm
in
sure.
that industry.
Now, did you say earlier you did his voice? Did I hear you say
I did the Darkling voice.
The Darkling voice. Do it, Paul. Do it. Give us.
Well, he was a like, little British guy and he talked like that. Hello, boy. It's good.
Is he mean?
No, he's nice. No,
He's a nice
right.
guy.
Well,
he just kind of looks a little crazy.
Pleasant. I mean, yeah, but he's
not pleasant.
He's on your side.
He's on your side. He's someone that you want on your side, and then it's really cool.
There's something really cool about that game too. You know, 3 of my great-grandfathers were killed in the First World War, and I've cared always very much about them. And so we had a scene that was set in the trenches, and I put my great-grandfathers in, so that when I got the first build of the game, I could play through the game and then I could get in the trenches and I could walk over. And
be with them.
So I spent about 2 hours with them, just
really
hanging out, like letting them live. I saved the game so I could always go back and hang with them for a bit.
Your mind, man, it's so beautiful. I love it. Sweet, romantic, beautiful. Like it's like a love story. So, well, let's talk about directing and writing for a second then. Like, you're also an actor, you're also a director. Are you working on bringing any of these to life in like film? What are you working
not
on?
these characters.
Not these guys?
Although you know, I mean, right now the Thunderbolts is being made.
Yeah.
So as we're talking, Thunderbolts has a main character in it, which is the Sentry.
Yes.
So the character that I created for Thunderbolts is and it'll be great. I mean, I'm consulting with Marvel and working with them on that project.
Nice.
And that's pretty cool. They just, you know,
really-
cast it, so.
Really fucking cool. They just cast it.
Yeah,
I wonder who's going to play him.
yeah,
We
I
can't tell.
guess.
Shush, we don't know. We don't know yet. We don't know.
By the time this comes out, hopefully people will know.
Yeah, they'll know.
But also, you know, I mean, generally the stuff I want to do is very much more grounded in like people.
Okay.
Like a lot of the times when you do comics, the reason I had success is because I took something like, say, Spider-Man, and I made it a person, right? So I very rarely wrote about the guy punching or fighting the Green Goblin or whatever. All of these things are just like
Just the kicking and
top,
punching. Yeah.
I wrote a lot of stories about Peter Parker, and even to this day, you know, I spent 6 years doing Spider-Man. There's one issue that people will come up to me. There's actually kind of two, but there's one that people will come up to me, and the story is that on the anniversary of Uncle Ben's death, you know, he goes to a baseball game, and he had always gone to a baseball game every year, right? And that's because when he first moved into, he's an orphan, and when he first moved in with them, Uncle Ben took him to a baseball game, and he fell in love with New York Mets, and so every year they would lose, and it was awful and terrible. And then finally, when he's just growing apart from his Uncle Ben, who's like a grandfather figure almost, that year they finally win, and they look at each other in the stands, and they're like, "That's what it was all about."
Finally.
Right? And then 2 days later, Uncle Ben's dead. So it's really sad.
Again,
But I wrote it because I went to Wales when my grandfather was passing away, and I hung with him for a little bit. And we talked about stuff, and he couldn't connect because he was shutting down, you know?
Yeah.
And the football was on. Chelsea were playing his team, and he didn't care. He didn't want to watch the FA Cup final. But at one point, I said, "Hey, Grandad, do you remember those songs you used to sing to me?" And he started singing them. And for a minute, there was this real hush in the place. And I realised that all of the old people were all singing these like wartime songs, every single one of them.
In the
whole
nursing
place.
home, they were all singing it.
There was an old lady waiting for someone.
That just gave me chills.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And so I knew he had been waiting for me, and I'd flown in from America, and then I got on the plane. My Uncle Michael went to talk to him. They talked through a few things, and then I guess I got on the plane, and I knew he was going to go, and he was gone. So on the plane back, I wrote that issue about connecting to our family. You know?
It's beautiful. So beautiful. Your heart, your mind is so beautiful. We are so gifted to have you. Not gifted, thankful and blessed. You're a superhero. Do you believe in these things, like human superheroes? People can have superhero powers.
I believe in the potential of people.
Yeah.
I'm not a very religious person.
Right.
I think that people can make I'm spiritual, right?
Yes.
But I think that people can make their own destinies, and I think that it's the energy that people bring to it is what really makes it real.
Yes. That's part of the magic, though, the light. Oh, that, I do.
Hey, you know what would be super? Is if you follow, like, and leave me a comment on Baby's Crib.
Well, now let's talk about Fairy Quest a little bit, if that's okay. So these are 3 books that you've written, right? You're on your 3rd?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if we can see these or not. We might go to B-roll later for these, called The Outlaws. And you said this earlier. This is about like Little Red Riding Hood and Big Bad Wolf, and they're actually friends in this. And they live in Fablewood, is that correct?
Yeah, so Fablewood is this giant forest. In fact, if you look in the inside cover, there's this forest, and all of the stories that have ever been told live in this forest. So you've got like science fiction and fantasy, love stories, you've got all of this stuff. And right in the very middle is where the children's stories are.
Okay.
And so the idea behind it is that if you look at it from an adult level, it's about like how do friendships survive? And it's very topical now, right? Because people are so torn apart by like politics and gaslighting and stuff like that. Yeah. But friendships and people should endure. So they're not supposed to be friends. They're the Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. But the way the premise is they do their job, and then they all break for dinner and they go home. And when they go home, they can be whoever they like.
They can be whoever they like.
And then they come the next day to tell their story. But they're under review by these fascistic kind of people called the Think Police. It's kind of like 1984. And and so they're made to tell their story, and if they get it wrong, it says like keep your story straight, all that, and if they get it wrong, then they get their minds wiped and they have to just start all over again.
Start all over again.
And they find out about this, and they love each other very much.
It's nice. And she
so
rides him.
Yeah. She rides him. Yeah.
It's so cool. I love it. And then, so the second one, what is this one called?
That one's Outcasts, I think. This is Outlaws, Outcasts.
So this is the one that you gifted me, by the way.
Yeah.
It was 2011, I think this is when this came out?
2012, I think, yeah.
2012.
So it's a labour of
signed it to
love.
me.
It's taking a long time to do.
Is it?
Yeah, and this is the one where they start going out into, they're trying to get away, and basically, and they realise that
They're getting outside of the woods.
yeah, so they run into Hans Christian Andersen, who is the person that knows everything. He's called the map maker, and he's
You're mine.
he's very much for their freedom of choice, their ability to do it, and yet the Think Police are very much against their freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And then in the third one,
Like where we are on Earth right now.
That's right,
So
exactly.
many ways it's twisted.
art imitates life.
Yeah.
And then in this one, they become self-aware and they cross over, and they suddenly realize they're in the world of crime.
Oh.
And so now they become aware that Fablewood is all of the stories, and so they now
They had
have
no idea before.
Yeah, and now they follow the yellow brick road to freedom. And
Which
as
is the
they
yellow
follow
brick
the
road.
yellow brick road backwards, like they're trying to find a place called the real world that they've heard about from Peter Pan, and
This is so cool.
as they go backwards, the wolf becomes more feral and she becomes more like a little girl because they're losing their story. They're losing the piece that makes them the story characters. You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
they're forgetting, like, it's sad again.
Everything I do is
I'm all,
painful.
my heart just bleeding. That's crazy. Well, these are great stories. And books like this, like, obviously are amazing to open up and read and look at because the illustration, like, it's incredible. Like, this person that illustrated these, like, amazing. Did you have anything to do with this?
Yeah, I
bit?
mean, absolutely. I mean, one of the things about those books is that I want to make books that you can hand to somebody 100 years from now and they're still intact.
Yes.
So we built them so they had like
They're
Tyvek in the
durable.
sleeve and they're really
They're
durable.
beautiful. I mean,
So they can be in the library and always be in the library.
yeah,
You know?
they're
So that's,
gorgeous.
yeah.
They're really, really beautiful. Well, last thing, what's up on the rise for Paul Jenkins? Like, what's going on with Meta? Tell me about Meta.
Yeah, well, we're doing great. I mean, you know, we have a lot of stuff that we're working on right now. We are doing a couple of projects. We're doing one that's about us crossing the threshold of you know, we started with the agricultural revolution and we moved into the industrial revolution. And right now we're on the threshold. We just stepped across the digital revolution. And that means AI and all the stuff that comes with it,
Yes.
right? And so the question is, where will we go, right?
Yeah.
Like, what will people do?
What's gonna fucking happen?
What's going to happen? And the answer is, if you don't look at what already happened, like what is past is prologue, right?
History's gonna repeat
So you
itself.
have to see what we did. And I think what we're doing is we're looking at, in the project, it's called Another Path. And the first story we told was about the wrong path, which is war.
Yes.
It actually led to the story of my great-grandfathers. And one of them is buried in Arras. He was shot and he bled out. And if it was now, it wouldn't be any problem. But,
No.
you know, they couldn't save him.
No.
And that death reverberated through my family. You know, my grandfather never met his father. He had some issues. He had alcohol issues. He didn't treat my mum very well. My mum had some mental health issues, I think. She struggled to maintain everything with me and my brother. My brother couldn't work out how to do it, and it was about me and Richard breaking the cycle.
Yeah,
so
you
the wrong
have,
path
yeah.
the wrong path is always war, and what it does to us. And
Yeah.
we should never be gaslit into doing this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But another path is a worldwide treasure hunt. So you actually get to go all the way around the world and find things that are in the world on Google.
How fucking fun is that gonna be? That's gonna be large.
Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. We have a couple of film projects that we are going to do. We're shooting something week after next.
Cool.
So, you know, we have a great group of people at Meta. Everybody's really cool.
Yeah.
We're working really hard to build the company and starting to get some traction and success right now.
Yeah, I mean, you've done so much. You deserve all the best. These are great things. What you stand for to me is beauty, and you wear your heart like on your sleeve, and you are humble. You really are. I love helping people. I love who you are, Paul.
Well, thank you. I mean, Meta
Yeah.
Studios, we existed, you know, 6 years before Mark Zuckerberg founded Meta, right?
What was it? 2011.
2014 is when we started
2014,
Meta, and it's
You
an
had the
acro-
name before.
Yeah, so we had the name way before, and it's an acronym, and it stands for media, which is what I do, education, which I care about very much, technology, which I think sets us apart because we work in like new media,
Sure.
and advancement, which is the advancement of people and advancement of creatives especially. So
beautiful.
media, education, technology, and advancement, and so we like walk the walk, you know, we do
Yes,
that.
yes.
And I think success comes to you, you know, it takes you like, you know, 50 years to be an overnight success, right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
But we're getting there, and I've got a couple of other things that are coming up. I have it's weird when you sell to TV, you get it, and so I've got a project that is there.
Okay.
And we've signed the contracts.
Nice.
But that means, you know, does it show up? Who
I
knows,
know,
right?
I
It
know.
falls into the morass.
I know,
Yeah, so.
I know. But I've actually gotten the privilege to work with Paul a couple of times in a couple of short films, and you're a great actor also, so that probably makes you a great director and all this stuff. You know, I already know that it does. You were directing also, but there was a scene that we had where you're actually yelling at me and I'm crying on a park bench, and you did it like 3 times, and you were like, I can't fucking do this anymore. I'm
it
just
was
yelling at
soul
you.
destroying, wasn't it? Yeah. It was hard.
Real
it was,
tears are coming down, and you're just like,
Oh, I made you cry, didn't
you
I?
fucking bitch. I don't even know what you're fat, and you're fat, and you're fat. I'm like,
I-
I'm fat, I know I'm fat.
I remember one thing that I said, and I came up with it on the spot, and I was like, man, I can't.
felt bad.
I don't know where it came from. I remember saying you were a case for forcible sterilization, which is so cruel,
So mean.
and that cruelty
Yeah, it's
helped,
horrible.
you know?
It did. I mean, it was like I was breaking me down.
just making my arms go up because I wouldn't say
And
something
afterwards,
like
you said, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. And on to the next scene. And that was great. Well, I just love you. And thank you so much for blessing me with your time in my crib and for bringing all these amazing things that you're a part of and that you're creating. I mean, Baby's Crib 333 with Paul Jenkins, beautiful people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love you. Love you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, sweetheart. Are you ready for your story?
Well, yeah, but I want to read one of these books.
I want to read this one tonight.
But Mama,
No, honey, I want to read this one. You're going to like it. Now, did you brush your teeth?
yes, I did, Mama.
Are they all clean?
Mm-hmm.
Let me smell that breath. Okay, are you ready?
Yes, Mama.
All right, here we go. Now, this one is a story of wonder. It has a scarecrow in it and a metal person.
Well, what happened to Riding Hood and the wolf?
You always want the same story. Don't be such a brat.
But Mama,
My book, my story. Now be quiet and pay attention.
I'm paying attention.
It all begins a long, long way from home.
Be my superhero, be my Superman. I'll be your Wonder Woman, we'll be super friends. Light above the darkness into the night. Be my superhero. We all need the light. We all need the light. Now it's all around, hysterical virus feeds, mascot faces, smiles we cannot see, human touch so distances, that's how it breeds. Physical embrace, a hug is what we need. Signals in the sky, the world's on fire, it's burning tonight. Be my superhero, be my Superman. I'll be your Wonder Woman, we'll be super friends. Light up the darkness into the night. Be my superhero. We all need the light. We all need the light. World filled with darkness, colors divide, they shade. Storms have arrived, where are the rainbows in this maze? Fight for freedom with wrong form, legion of doom destroys. Children need to go home, go back to the home. Signals in the sky, the world's on fire, it's burning tonight. Be my superhero, be my Superman. I'll be your Wonder Woman, we'll be super friends. Light up the darkness into the night. Be my superhero. We all need the light. We all need the light. Be my superhero, be my Superman. Fight for freedom with wrong form. Smoke signals in the sky. The world's on fire. It's burning tonight.
Uh-huh.